I'm Eitan Weinstein.
And I'm Naor Menninger. And you're listening to Two Nice Jewish Boys.
This podcast is made in collaboration with the Jewish Journal. The battle against BDS is a sort of David versus Goliath style fight. On one side, you have the BDS supporters, heavily funded by foreign governments and NGOs, reinforced by celebrities, activists, and an army of social media justice warriors. And on the other side, you've got a handful of eloquent volunteers who stand as a human shield, trying to protect what's left of Israel's dignity in the world. The battle's not an easy one, not at all. Ask Chen Mazzig. Chen is an Israeli Jew from Mizrahi descent. We'll get to why that's important later. After a meaningful service in the IDF, Chen decided he can't stand on the sidelines any longer and watch as his country's PR crumbles. While he's a proud member of the LGBTQ community here in Israel and even critical of the right-wing government and its policies, Chen has been touring the world for years, giving lectures at extremely hostile campuses and generally getting the word out there that BDS is bad for everyone, especially for the Palestinians. Chen joins us today to discuss his life and the path that led him to fight BDS. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So today we got a special episode. We're filming it.
Yeah.
So we didn't get the makeup crew in yet, but
Right.
we'll have to do that next time.
But you had your hair done. So.
I did have my hair done. I got my
But
hair done.
not on the head.
No. My back hair is done. I got it permed. So anyway, I just recently saw a tweet of yours. We're going to talk about a bunch of things today, but I just recently saw a tweet of yours in which you were about to book some Airbnb place in London or something, I think it was.
Yeah.
And then you opted out. You went for booking.com. How come? Do tell.
Well, a step back. I mean, I am critical of the settlement in general, and I wrote and voiced my opinion about it in Hebrew and in English. And I'm on the left. I'm progressive. But with that being said, I think that the act of a website that allows to book online accommodation to take sides on a political issue while they have not boycotted or divest or not allowed users from any other conflict area in the world to not be able to access houses in certain locations such as Northern Cyprus that is still occupied by Turkey, or Western Sahara that is still occupied by Morocco, or other conflict areas. I mean, all over the world, they never thought that they have the right to make a political stand, but here it's okay. And it's not only that it's okay, they're going to identify Jewish homes by Jewish last names. So, I mean, I have my criticism of the settlement movement and the settlements in general.
I didn't even read that. They said that they would identify which homes not to put on the website by Jewish last names.
That's what I'm getting. How else would I find out?
That's one of the biggest problems, I think. How do they separate?
Would the Airbnb, I don't know if any of us know this, but would they have continued in or do they even operate in Ramallah and places like that?
In Gaza even.
Uh-huh.
In Gaza.
Yeah.
And they were going to, so they'll continue operating in Gaza,
Right.
but seems a bit ridiculous.
But, on the other hand,
yeah.
it is a private company, right? So, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, and we can do whatever we want.
Yes, we can. But they still offer a better service than Booking.com.
I'm not sure, actually. I used Booking.com in Booking.com.
Because in London is so expensive, right? I was just there a few months ago, and I took a room in an apartment with Airbnb. It was amazing experience. Right. You can never do that with Booking.
You can't does any other service provide the service that Airbnb does where people rent out or sublet their rooms?
I think Booking.com also allows not only hotels.
Yeah, they allow private apartments, but not rooms in apartments.
Not rooms in apartments.
And rooms in apartments, I think, is one of the big advantages of Airbnb.
Because you get to meet people and
it's way cheaper.
Yeah.
It's cheap.
But you have to ask yourself, I mean, it's true what you're saying. That
I have no values, so this is why basically...
no integrity. It's true. It's like when YouTube takes certain people off of there. I mean, you can do whatever you want. You're a private company. You're free to do as you please, but you can't, pretend to be some kind of promoter of free speech in YouTube's case, or an Airbnb standing up for human rights you're clearly doing something that's askew.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg can tell everyone it is a private company until tomorrow, but at the end of the day, he actually makes like that. It's a different we're living in a different time. It's no longer private companies that are online and are being used by everyone can pretend that they have no responsibility. The fact that Twitter and Facebook and Instagram have millions of followers, and the same with Airbnb. How many people, tons of people, millions of people use Airbnb.
Yeah.
So for them to say, well, we're a private company, we'll do what we want. No, you're not. And you should have some responsibility, and they will have responsibility because there's anti-BDS legislation in the U.S. And if we can prove that they are actually participating in some sort of BDS, there will be consequences in the U.S.
Other way to go about it is to tell them that you're hypocrites. So don't cancel, don't bring back settlement Airbnb. Instead, put this to work in other conflict areas.
Yeah, it's like either you're going to take a stance, and then you got to take a stance.
Yeah, right.
And then you shouldn't be in places where they persecute people from the gay community or don't let women drive, or I don't know. Even though Saudi Arabia lets women drive now, so Saudi Arabia is perfectly fine.
Not really yet.
Not yet?
Nah.
Okay. You
Also,
were there?
the treatment of women in Saudi Arabia. I mean, even if they can drive,
it's the worst.
If they can drive, it's all good.
Yeah, right. What a progress, right?
No, but
New
Airbnb got a huge blow because not only Mazzig canceled his, but also Eitan's father, Scoop.
Oh, yeah.
He tweeted, Eitan's father
You
is
follow
also...
my dad, or we follow my dad on the Two Nice Jewish Boys
Twitter
page?
don't know, but...
Follow us, guys, by the way. We're on Twitter.
Yeah, he posted that he canceled his Airbnb account.
So and he was a big Airbnb user.
Yeah.
I think, no, he's been maybe he's used it once. I don't think he's ever. I wonder if he's ever used it.
He just
Dad,
opened it.
If you're listening, please comment below. Have you ever used Airbnb?
He just opened it and then closed it.
Yeah.
So I would because in the end of the day, they do have a point. The territories, even if in a non-political point of view, it's just dangerous for their users, and it's a huge responsibility to take for a company like Airbnb to have people sleep in these places, which are statistically more dangerous, the settlements, than Tel Aviv or Jerusalem.
Yeah. So you were going to London for what was that?
I'm speaking at an event for the Zionist Federation in the UK. They're actually the same body that got the Balfour Declaration. So they still exist, yeah.
That's amazing.
And they're doing a seminar in December on next Sunday.
December 2nd.
December 2nd, yeah, thank you. So I'm going there, and also my boyfriend lives in London, so
okay.
It's great that there's anti-Semitism. No, I mean, it's terrible, but it gives me an opportunity to see him whenever I'm invited there.
So tell us a bit how you got into that. Like where you started out as I was reading a humanitarian soldier in the IDF. I had no idea that even exists.
Thought you were about to ask me how I met my boyfriend.
Me too.
No.
Way more interesting.
That's we met in Starbucks.
Really? Where?
No, I'm kidding. No,
okay.
We met online dating app. Terrible. But we make up stories. So how did I got into it? I mean, when I share my story on campuses, I'm talking about being from a family of Iraqi parents from my mother's side, and my dad was from Tunisia. Is part of the Mazzig, the Berbers, the most indigenous community to North Africa, and how they came to Israel in the early 50s. I share a lot, and we can talk about this maybe after, but the story of this 850,000 Jewish refugees that never received any justice, that no one treat them as refugees.
Explain.
So maybe we'll get into it first, because my family from Iraq came in 1951, but it wasn't because Israel was great, and they also had a great time in Iraq, and they said, oh, maybe we'll move to Israel. No, for years, for decades, they were praying to come back to Jerusalem. I'm not religious, but we can't really take Zionism out of Judaism. It's an integral part. We pray to Jerusalem, we look towards Jerusalem, next year in Jerusalem. So the idea that I hear now from some Jewish groups that are saying, Zionism has nothing to do with Judaism, it's nonsense. It's and then after decades of prosecutions that really got to the climax in the Farhud in 1942, way before the establishment of Israel.
What's the Farhud?
So the Farhud is the Jewish Nakba. It's basically the day of 2 days of really terrible acts against the Jewish community in Baghdad.
Kristallnacht of
Iraq.
Iraq.
Exactly. But unlike, and that's something that my grandma says, that I'm asking her why no one knows about it. And she says, well, when we came to Israel, we spoke Arabic. We didn't really feel comfortable knowing that the terrible thing that happened to our brothers and sisters in Europe, what happened to us was not a genocide in this level.
Right.
And then when I'm asking more about what happened, it was terrible. There's no comparison, but...
So tell us a bit about the Farhud.
So the Farhud was during Shavuot.
42.
There was it was days that...
The Shavuot, the holiday.
The holiday, yeah.
Which is, for our listeners,
June,
in September, no? No, May, June, right.
Shavuot.
Sorry.
May, June,
Yeah. Like 7 weeks
Bad
after
Jew,
Pesach.
Bad Jew.
7 weeks after Pesach. I know what it is, man.
Okay.
It's 49 days.
Yeah, exactly. And basically it was 2 days that really terrible pogroms against the Jewish community of Baghdad that was allowed by the Iraqi government, the Iraqi ruler.
Was there a trigger?
No, it was just, the fact that Jews were part of Iraq. The 1/3 of Iraq of Baghdad was Jewish. My family my grandfather was, he wasn't a judge, so Jews always lived as second-class citizens in the Middle East. But he was able to work in the court in some way. He wasn't a lawyer because they're also not allowed to be lawyers. But and that's another thing that I always hear on campuses around the world, that they're saying, Jews had it so well in the Middle East, in Iraq, in Morocco, and all over the world, the Arab world. But it's nonsense.
Relatively, we had it well.
Yeah, relatively to other minorities, but
Yeah.
we still had it really bad.
Jews having it well means they're not like murdering us.
Right, and we should be
Which is
grateful
great.
for that. Yeah. Right?
So what were these like? What was the extent of these pogroms? Do you know if people were killed?
Yeah, of course. There was more than 200 people died in 2 days.
I read the numbers are in dispute still. People are not sure exactly.
Right.
How come?
That's why I'm saying over 200, because they don't know. There's some testimonies. There's some stories. They're talking about 10,000 casualties. But when my family went, 850,000 Jews from the Middle East and North Africa left their homes and came to Israel or the U.S. or other places. Unlike other refugees that were celebrated and paraded and being, and got this love from the international community, this group of refugees was not acknowledged by anyone. They were just told, okay, we gave you a home, just move on and don't focus on the past. And I know that my grandmother also says she came to Israel and she spoke Arabic. She came from an Arab state while there was, a massive attack of Arab countries against this country that she belongs to, and she doesn't want to be belong to where she came from. So a lot of it is really psychological issues, and the fact that they spoke Arabic, I think that's a big problem. So big part of it. So they're trying now to revive it, but
it seems it's weird how I saw it actually an interview with you. I don't remember where it was, if it was on BBC or I don't remember where exactly, but where you pointed out they were talking about they were obviously criticizing Israel, and you said, it really has nothing to do whether Israel's doing something wrong here or not. There's just this level of this obsession with it, that with the Palestinian problem and this ignoring of like the Farhud, for example, where it's just there's obvious, like, of course Israel makes mistakes and Israel has certain problematic policies and Israel needs to be answerable to questions, but like there's this obsession with it that's just unexplainable.
Just to emphasize the point that we're talking about 42, so before, it's after Zionism, but before the state of Israel, so there are no real excuses for basically murdering all the Jews.
Why would there be
No, because today,
it's like if there's an Israel, then you can...
No, but
no, he's right. People say it's a trigger,
Okay.
that Israel establishment was a trigger because then we mistreated the Palestinians that weren't even a people back then. And I don't say that the Palestinians don't exist, as, by the way, that's the worst type of asbara, to say, oh, Palestinians don't exist. Don't say that. They didn't exist as people, but they did form national identity, and they do demand, national homeland, and that's fine. So, but you're right that people are saying, Israel was created on the back of the Palestinians, and that's why 850,000 Jews from the Middle East and North Africa.
This is what Iranians say today, for example.
Right. And BDS activists. But then there was no state of Israel, so there wasn't even that. So it's purely anti-Semitism. Right.
But to be fair, like it's like I don't even blame the Iranians. I blame like for spewing
God.
that hatred. No, I blame people being ignorant because it's like the Iranians do that because it's like there's like 4 years off, 5 years off, right? So they can like fuck with it and they're like, oh, it's because but like
What do you mean 5
really,
years off?
like it happened in 42 and the state of Israel was established in 48 and Iran can say, well, it was built on the back of Palestinians because no one's going to check. No one's going to go online and say, okay, let me check what,
No,
you know,
they're saying now.
yeah,
Currently,
that this
we
is what happened.
exist. No, we exist on the account of the Palestinians.
That's what I'm
and we
saying.
should cease to exist
Is that
now.
they'll say this because it's easy for them to say it. No one actually goes and checks the facts. No one, like, people are just complacent in their ignorance. They're not going to say, okay, you know, there's this. They'll believe what's comfortable to them.
I don't remember which guest told us that, but the Arabs, they look at things like it's not a matter. I don't remember who, but they look at things like they have their narratives.
Yeah.
Their facts are just, they don't conceive facts.
Yeah.
Like we
But-
conceive them.
But I'm saying
not only Arabs, also college students.
yeah. Which
that's
is
what I'm
even
saying.
worse.
Is I'm saying it's
Yeah.
not even like in the Arab world, it's a cultural thing.
Right.
But on college campuses, I'm not talking about the Arab world. I'm more talking about the BDS movement being promulgated in college campuses. There, it's these lazy kids who just don't want to read.
Yeah.
And you've really met that face to face. I mean, you were on college campuses and people were yelling in your face. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been doing it for 7 years now. So I'm sharing my story about my family coming from Iraq and North Africa. By the way, my family from my father's side were part of the Mazzig, the Berbers tribe that
Right.
were Jewish in the past. Some of them converted to Islam. The Jewish ones that stayed made Aliyah. Most of them, some went to France, but they're the most indigenous community to North Africa. So the notion that Jews are not indigenous to this area, I mean, they came from Judea. They were expelled from Judea when it was actually Judea. And then for decades, they lived in North Africa until the Islamic expansion.
Some until today live in North Africa.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm talking about my family, talking about growing up in Israel, surviving a suicide attack when I was 12.
Wait. Say what?
So when I was 12, I was just seconds from walking into an ice cream shop in Petah Tikva where I grew up that blew up, and there was a grandmother and her 2-year-old granddaughter that were eating ice cream, and the suicide bomber walked inside and blew them up, blew up the
So
store.
you were like approaching just as you were approaching,
Yeah, I wasn't opening the door, but I was really
Yeah.
like I saw the whole thing was happening.
and what like did you?
Can you
Yeah,
describe
I fell
it to us?
back. I had some scratches. There was, I don't remember much. Like, to be honest, I didn't remember even after days after that because it was so traumatic. But I remember the smoke. I remember the fire. The cry. I remember the smell. The smell was the worst smell I've ever smelled in my life. Of like, it's awful to say, but terrible meat that was like really gone bad, or something like that. I don't know even how to describe it. And then I ran home, and
You just got up and went home.
yeah, I ran home.
And didn't you think for a second like, do I have all my limbs? Like
No,
nothing.
I was 12 and I was just experiencing this terrible moment. So I'm talking about how this day really shaped me,
Yeah.
and helped me decide to be a humanitarian officer and work with the other side to promote peace. And
This is when you were 11, 12, so it was what, the second intifada?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's like a crossroads in one's life where you can either go extreme and be right wing and left, or really left wing, right?
Yeah.
Because either you're like, fuck them all, let's fuck everybody,
Carpet bomb, whatever.
yeah,
or
let's erase them from the earth, or we have to find a solution,
Uh,
But you
right?
found yourself in a comfortable middle ground, which is good.
Yeah, I think I am right now. I don't think I was always like that. When I got to the army, I was such a radical lefty. I was like,
Yeah.
Really?
yeah, everyone hated me in the army. And I was like humanitarian officer and working with the UN, and in the settlement in Hebron, they call me Judge Goldstone because I always came and wrote reports about the settlement. Actually, after the army, I came back to visit, and they were like, "Oh, here's Judge Goldstone again." They really hated me. There was combat soldiers that like blocked me off bases and said, "You can't walk in because you're gonna write reports about
Yeah.
us and all that." Because my unit, that's the job of my unit, is to be the snitch to
To the UN?
No, to the army, to the
Okay.
authorities. Oh, I would never. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
No.
But so you guys would go onto bases and just report about,
And tell the commander of the base, this soldier misbehaved here
Okay.
and this happened, and the smallest thing.
It's so relevant to the debate going on nowadays with
Yeah.
Bennett and how he just said that the over legislation over mishpatizacja. I don't know how you would translate it.
Well, no, I don't know how.
That the law confines the activity of soldiers and to the point that it risks their lives.
I mean,
That's what he claims. So you were part of this machine he despises.
yeah, I wasn't part of the legal advisor of the IDF, but my work was to know the Geneva Convention, know the international laws, and explain to the soldiers what the international organizations are doing there. When I get complaints, to pass it on to the commanders. I heard what Bennett says, and it's kind of bizarre that Bennett would come up with this now after, for years is going on TV shows saying Israel is the IDF is the most moral army in the world. We uphold international law, and that it says all that in English, and then he comes to Israel and says, "Oh, we're too careful." No, that we should be too careful. We are a strong army, and we're fighting enemy that is not as technological and advanced as we are. I don't know if carpet bombing is the right way to go with it, but
Yeah, no, obviously not.
and I'm sure he's not referring to it, but I think he's I do think that this is why I can do what I'm doing, because I know what the IDF is about. And
Yeah.
once someone will tell me, they're trying to like let it off, and they're trying to cut some rules so it will be easier to stop terrorists and treat Palestinians, and I don't know.
So what made you less lefty then, after the military?
College campuses in the U.S.
So tell us about that.
Yeah.
What was your first experience with that kind of phenomenon?
2012, I think. I was sent to Seattle by this pro-Israel organization that I worked with them in the past. Not anymore. I'm good with them, but we won't mention them right now. Anyway, so I got to Seattle. I started speaking on campuses, and then they said, the head of the office there said, "Chen, there's an event that I think you would like." Back then, there was a movie that just came out. It's called Five Broken Cameras.
Mm-hmm. It won the Oscar, right? Or
Yeah,
it was
nominated.
Nominated.
For the,
Yeah.
okay. Even the Oscar, even with all their hate to Israel, they couldn't give them
Yeah.
an award. So he said there's an event that Jewish Voice for Peace is hosting this director of the movie, and I said, well, I know the director of the movie because I served in Hebron, and a lot of the times they came. He actually pushed me to the ground a few times.
For our listeners, Five Broken Cameras, real
Okay.
quick, is a Palestinian
It's an Israeli film.
documentary.
It's an Israeli documentary.
It's not the. No, but I'm saying it's made by a Palestinian
Yeah.
from his point of view.
Yeah.
It's
But
five.
the director
it's-
is not Palestinian.
Yeah, but the film
Right.
it depicts a Palestinian guy with a camera who has a home camera and films his experiences throughout his lifetime, throughout 5 different cameras that were broken by the
I think
Israeli
Shlomi
military.
El-Kabetz is the...
Yeah,
Right. So it's not a director.
Shlomi El-Kalbetz
El-Kabetz.
is the
Abal של רונית אלקבץ. The husband of רונית אלקבץ. He's the director, and yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't the director that came. It was the brother of the Palestinian guy that
Shot
the
it.
movie.
Okay.
So I knew the guy because I remember him pushing me to the ground when I was an officer, when I was speaking Arabic to him, trying to calm him down as part of my work. But I'm shocked that back then, when I was treated so badly by Palestinians, when I was trying to help them, that this didn't made me change sides. It was just campuses. So anyways, going to speak at University of Washington in Seattle, you should go and confront him. So I did, and I sat through his presentation of lies. Really, I was burning. Everything he said was so different than
like what?
my experience. He's saying that there's tanks that are bordering, that are taking Palestinians hostage, and that we shoot indiscriminately and we kill these kids, and we're killing people every day. And I mean, as
Fake news.
Yeah, I mean, but the worst you can think of, like, and showing maps of like so much BS that I was looking at the maps and I'm saying that's just not true. I mean, it says that Israel destroyed a waterway site for the Palestinians, and we actually built the waterway site, and I was part of the group that was in charge of promoting this for the Palestinians. So the whole thing was just terrible to see through. And then I raised my hand and I said, his name was Iyad. I'm sure he's still doing it. And I said, yeah, do you remember me? And he said, no. And I said, well, when I was 18, you pushed me to the ground. I was a soldier in the unit that helped promote, humanitarian work with the Palestinians and so on. And then someone got up and started screaming, take this fucking Zionist out of the room. Get this fucking Zionist. And then two people tried to hold him. And he, ran towards me. And there was another Israeli guy that was with me that, had a camera in his hand because he was filming me. And he pushed the camera to the anti-Israel guy that
Who approached you?
that
Was running to you.
And he was running with his fist, and he broke the Israeli guy's camera with his hands.
That's ironic.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's why I called the article "The Six Broken Camera."
Okay.
Wow, that's great.
And there's
You couldn't
videos.
even make that up.
Yeah, and there's videos of the whole thing, but it's terrifying. It was one of the worst.
And then what
moments.
happened?
Listen, I've been in Kalandia, I've been in protests where tear gas is falling on me, that I have soldiers that I have to take care of, and I'm with tears in my eyes. I can't see anything. I have to run back to my base because we're in the Palestinian territory. I was not as afraid as some of those moments that I had on college campuses in the US and the UK. I think there's this fake feeling of comfortness and safety that is destroyed when you walk into those
Yeah.
places.
There's
no,
this great-
no fiercer hatred than white liberal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's this great
Right?
there's this great segment. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, Steven Crowder. There's this great segment that he does. It's called "Change My Mind," and he goes into a lot of the time into college campuses. Sometimes he does it in other places, and he has some obviously provocative but something that he truly believes in statement, and then he says "change my mind,"
Oh,
and
yeah,
people
some
come up to
pictures.
him and rape culture is not is a myth, or there's only two genders or whatever. And then people, and his whole idea is to promote this in-depth dialogue where people rationalize their point of view, and the kind of shit that you see there, people yelling, breaking down in tears, people get violent.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable, and it makes you wonder what happened to in American culture, that people just can't, or at least the academic culture, that
Intellectualism.
that people just aren't able to listen. I mean, the guy didn't even let you finish this question.
Yeah.
That's before you got to speak,
Yeah.
even.
Yeah.
Then you went up and spoke.
I mean, but compared to this was the first time that I ran into it. One time I was in London in 2016, and 300 students, 300 protest my talk. They broke into the room that I was supposed to speak in. We had to move to another room, me and 10 Jewish students, and then they blocked the room that we were at, banged on the doors. We had campus police holding the doors and holding
Little Farhood in London.
That's what I actually called the article about that. You are good today. The title was Campus Farhood. But they broke through windows. They broke window to jump in, and then
That's
20 police officers from the London police had to come to the university to rescue me, they put up a police code on me and rushed me out of campus to the back door of the university, to a dark alley, and they said, now you're safe, we're out of the university.
In this
And
dark
then
alley.
You went back,
Yeah, I
right?
did.
A few months ago, not so far.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the year, I think.
January, yeah.
And then it was...
And then there was 150 protesters.
Okay.
So decreased, and they got much more security, and they didn't announce where the event is going to be until an hour before, and only then they sent text
It's like
messages.
an illegal rave.
Yeah, text messages to the people that were vetted to that were checked. They did background check on the people that came to my event. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'm that scary, but it's just shocking for me that I'm treated like Israel is treated in the public, in the media, and in the
On a personal level, though.
yeah, but yeah, exactly. I feel like exactly what Israel is going through, because I'm being shamed, I'm being attacked, I'm being slandered. I'm being called names. They try to politicize everything that I am, and it doesn't matter where I stand on settlements. It doesn't matter where I stand on LGBTQ rights. The fact that I'm a feminist, the fact that I'm volunteering 10 hours a week for transgender right in Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
All of this doesn't give. They don't give a fuck about that. It's
People
just the
don't
fact-
want to be nuanced. They don't
Yeah.
want to get into. And I really think it all goes back to certain laziness.
Yeah.
Like it's like, and that
I don't
might
like
be.
this word.
It really is. It
It's
really
not
is.
laziness. They choose. They choose to. They read a lot, but just what it's an echo box, right? I don't think they're lazy. They read a lot,
I don't
but they
think they
just
read a lot.
I think they do, but they just read the things that they want to see.
Because in that case, they would retort with some kind of rationale that they've developed in their mind when you argue with them, but they don't. They just chant these like 4-word slogans because it's easy to remember and it's catchy. And I think they just don't want to actually look at. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's actually going through their mind. But
I think that the general public is like that, and I think there's a lot of like small thought leaders within those groups that are reading a lot, but
because they actually have to deal with that cognitive dissonance.
Exactly, and they say, well, my friend here that is this smart guy that reads Haaretz and the Forward all the time, so he knows everything about Israel, and I can follow him.
But
Yeah.
okay, we had many episodes about BDS. We had Bassem Eid, and we had I don't remember who else, but we had a few episodes about
Right.
it. And the doctor who just wrote the book about it.
Mike Harris, no.
And Kate.
Never mind. Anyway,
Who was
Kate
stabbed.
Wilson.
Kate
Kate
Wilson.
Wilson.
She's awesome.
And but like since you define yourself as a left winger, I wonder. Okay, you oppose BDS, but then what is your strategy to end the occupation?
I don't think that ending the occupation is part of being a lefty. I am against the occupation and I'm against the
Settlements. So what do you suggest then?
But I
Do you have a
don't
better approach than BDS?
Well, I don't think that I don't think that it's up to us, and I don't think that the ball is in our court. And I don't think that the left wing, although I am a lefty and I do support liberal ideas and I support, I define myself as a lefty, but I guess, the fact that I'm pro-Israel for a lot of people will mean immediately that I'm not a lefty.
Okay, but
around
fuck
the
off
world.
other people. Like
Right.
between us, okay, many Israelis are left wingers, but they oppose the settlements.
Right. And I think, and also like all type of leftists that were loving this country and oppose the settlements and oppose occupation because they love the country and they want to see a better country. So I think that's where I would put myself. And I do understand that there's humans that live in the settlements, and I understand that they were put there and sent there by our government. I think that I don't think that BDS would be the way to get to a peaceful solution.
So what do you suggest then?
The only just a sentence about BDS. It only emboldened and helped the Palestinians that are radical, that Palestinian Authority, and they see that they have international support, and they're not going to change their mind, because if there's BDS and there's such support, if they're going to get peace, then what? Like, it's over. They won't get international support. They don't want that. On the other side, the right-wing government in Israel uses the idea of BDS, because they're saying, look, everyone hates us. We have to protect ourselves. So I think the more there's BDS, the less likely it is to have peace.
What about a more nuanced BDS? What about the BDS or the strand of BDS that says, we don't purchase things from the West Bank
Or from
and we
Israel? What is BDS if not grassroots sanction movement, right? It's not unlike the sanctions Trump just
Wait,
threw
but hold on.
Iran.
I want to understand if there was a movement that said, okay, we don't want to buy stuff from that's produced within the Balkan wine, or
If it's Israelis that are paying taxes in Israel and are part of this, of this country, sure, I
But
totally accept
legally,
that.
they're not part
But-
of this country.
No,
we never annexed.
I'm saying if it's Israelis that want to boycott settlements, it's fine with me.
No, we're not talking about Israelis.
no. So
Okay,
okay,
so
so
if-
that's interesting.
But if you're talking about Peter Beinart that wants to boycott settlements from his luxurious apartment in New York where he teaches at NYU,
That's an extreme, but let's go with Eitan's example.
Okay, so
like
Americans-
a London dweller
Right.
who doesn't want to buy, even let's go further, doesn't want to buy Israeli products
Yeah.
to oppose
the Israeli government.
the Israeli government's actions in the territories. Why isn't it a legitimate approach, in your opinion?
I think that, first of all, it's not going to change anything, no matter how much he doesn't buy Israeli products, because there's going to be Israeli products with his iPhone, with his Waze, with his cherry tomatoes, with whatever it is. And I think it's hypocritical to say, I'm not buying hummus because it's Israeli, or I'm not buying Ben & Jerry's, whatever. So that's the first part. And the second element is, why is it Israel? Why do you boycott Israel? Are you boycotting Chinese food? Are you boycotting Iranian food, Russian food?
That's a whataboutism.
It is what about it, but it's not. But this is what you're asking. You're saying
no. I'm asking because look, I'm thinking I'm being the devil's advocate here, and I'm saying this. Okay, like Israelis go right. Okay, we vote Bibi again and again. Right. So by voting Bibi, we want the status quo to continue at the minimum. So we don't want settlements to end, right? So I'm
not sure. Majority of Israelis do want 78%.
I don't buy these statistics, but never mind. Politically, they vote for the right. There's a right majority, so this is the situation. And so for a European guy who wants occupation to end,
he wants to influence another country in the Middle East. That's what bothers me. It's imperialism.
But in a very peaceful manner. Let's say he just says, I will not go to Israel. I will not buy Israeli products, and I will call all my friends to do the same. So but he's saying it's a non-violence.
There's something obviously deeply rooted, much deeper than that.
I think so. I think that the fact, and it's not, and I don't think it's whataboutism, because it's why is it just Israel?
Why is it differentism?
Yeah, why is it just Israel? If you are someone that boycotts other places,
okay,
and other
so
causes,
what if they say, there's a huge movement to boycott Israel? It's a cost versus benefit. I don't see anybody boycotting. I don't know,
China, Syria, Russia.
You know what I mean? Like I don't see a strong enough movement.
Sanctions, but you can still buy Russian and Chinese and
I don't see a strong enough movement. I don't feel like it's going to have an effect. I think that with Israel, we're right at the tipping point, and I want to be the camel that broke the camel that broke the straw's back. So then, what about
What about it?
But I'm saying there's a rationale there.
I hear the rationale, but still you cannot divorce it from the reality and say, this is what this is the world we live in, and there's so many human rights violations. Even if you're saying, this is one thing that I already see such a progress and I want to be part of it, like, so you're a hypocrite, because you're saying, I'm not going to go out of my way to do anything else other than not buying hummus that is going to really affect Israel. It's not going to affect Israel.
I say, that I boycott Iran, Syria, China, Russia, and Israel. Then it's cool.
And the U.S.
Why the U.S.?
Because the U.S. is a human rights violation country. If we're talking about Israel's human rights violations,
come on, man. Okay,
I know, but it's tiring. But that's exactly what I'm saying.
No, but you're like a broken record. You repeat about the same thing over and over. Give me something else. I don't buy it. I'm sorry.
I think
America now.
I don't agree. I think the point is that it's anti-Semitism.
Yeah, but we want to go around it. That's what I'm feeling. So if we want to go around the anti-Semitism and not touch it, if you are really talking about human rights violations, I think that there's a list of long, and if you are true and you're doing it because you're a human rights warrior and you want to change something, you're not going to start with Israel. If you're starting with Israel, there's a problem there. You're not going to change it, by the way. BDS is not going to affect Israel. Its economy
I'm not sure. We are investing a lot of resources in that, so it does matter for us.
Public opinion,
It did hurt us.
I don't know. Intel invested $7 billion last year in Israel.
Wait, I think we should turn this around. What's your point?
Yeah.
What are you saying? That BDS is legitimate? That like they're just it's evil people doing
BDS evil? Personally. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm trying to say that somewhere there is logic to that argument, and I am looking for a counter argument that would convince me against these specific people who are not anti-Semites, okay, who just want to boycott certain Israeli things, and I also, my point is if you oppose occupation, no matter why, and no matter if I agree with it or not, this is one of the most effective single things you can actually do, is boycott.
I'm not sure.
Like you are saying, we'll boycott Airbnb, right?
Yeah, but if you're doing it as a private citizen that is not going to shop in the...
And if I start a Facebook group, boycott Airbnb.
So that's different, yeah. Then you can make a difference. you can make a public opinion difference with Airbnb or with
Exactly.
yeah.
So I think, like, for those who oppose settlements, it is an effective, and the fact is we're talking about them right now,
Yeah.
right? So
I think there's just no room to play around. Like, it just needs to be stated, and I think people like to. I think I agree. I think if I caught you right and if I understood you right, what Chen was saying is that there's no beating around the bush. It's like, if you're boycotting Israel, there's some deep-rooted anti-Semitism there.
I'm
There's
sure
some-
there is, but
Or you're lazy intellectually, meaning you're influenced and lazy intellectually. You're a very influenced person who probably someone told you something about BDS. You want to be in the in group. You heard about it from someone, and now you don't
it's a good
actually
general
care.
argument. It's just it doesn't nail it specifically.
I
You
feel
know,
like if you were to go and actually talk to these people who are part of BDS, I don't know, I haven't done this, but I feel like those are the two camps you would see: people who are that have some deep-seated hatred, and people who are just lazy intellectually.
Yeah, no, and that's what I saw with the people that I faced. Or
You never met
they're either-
one single person who wasn't neither of those two.
that wasn't stupid or anti-Semite. No, I swear they're either they're either stupid or anti-Semite or a hypocrite. But it goes
I
with
think about
stupid.
Gideon Levy. Okay, he's not stupid.
I mean, you read his
And
titles
I
of the
don't
article.
think he's anti-Semite, and he's not stupid. I don't agree with anything he represents.
calling IDF soldiers Nazis. He's been
It's kind of anti-Semitic. Like, he might
He's a provocateur.
let's say this. Okay,
there's
wow, I'm gonna
racist-
get shit for this, but would he be a capo if he was in? You know what I mean?
No, he would die
that's-
within first minute of the Holocaust.
yeah.
Hey, we're starting a Holocaust, and
Remember,
5 minutes later,
Kappas-
he's dead.
Some of the Kappas didn't have any choice. I mean, it's terrible.
You would be a
Yeah,
capo.
no, I know. No, I'm not saying.
Gideon Levy has a choice. You know, he's
Yeah.
getting paid for this.
It's even worse. He's worse than. Okay, I'm not even gonna say that. I'm not gonna finish that sentence. We should move on from this topic.
Yeah. So something optimistic to wrap things up with.
Mhm. Oh, for me, I'm like, oh, tell me something.
No,
You're like-
it's
you're
your
like,
job.
Come on, I'm really excited about that.
It's your
Something
job.
optimistic. There are brave students on campuses, Jewish students and Jewish activists that are standing up and fighting back, and that's our hope. And I don't think it's very important that both the Jewish community in the U.S., which by the way 93% of them are Zionists, are supporting Israel, and the Jewish community in Israel, that 99.9% of them are Zionists and support Israel, that will be there for each other, and that they will remember that, yeah, they need to stand up for us right now, but Israel is this place that was there for my family in 1951, that is there for French Jews escaping anti-Semitism, that is there for Soviet Union Jews that will ever need it. Israel is this place that it's the warranty for Jewish people all over the world. And I hope they won't forget it, and we'll be there for them.
So if our listeners want to help the fight against BDS,
I take
what
PayPal.
can they do?
No.
Okay.
Buy extra hummus.
Buy extra hummus. No, get involved and be
How?
involved on social media. Open a Facebook account, open Twitter account.
Do you have an organization you can point that if someone wants to volunteer and help in America, for example?
Oh, there's so many organizations. Get involved with APAC. Get involved with CAMRA, the Committee for Accuracy in Middle East Reporting in America. Ooh, mouthful. The Israel Project. You have a bunch of them. Stand With Us. There's a bunch of organizations that you can get involved with, and follow people like Mazzig at AGNMAZZIG. And you can get information, join the fight, and don't be afraid and don't be discouraged, because we have to do it. That's my belief, that this is another front, and we're not doing so well, but we'll get back on our feet, because in every generation we were outnumbered, but we're going to outbrain them.
Yep, with
I feel
podcasts.
I feel like Naor's probably has more of a bleak outlook than you, but
No,
I'm happy that we got
no,
some.
no. This little speech bought me.
Yeah, really? That's it?
Yeah, I'm optimistic now.
If only it
but-
was that easy to change.
Yeah, but and if people want to invite you to lectures,
Yes,
you have a
please.
website, right?
Yeah, I have a website. It's been tough few weeks since I don't know if you know that there was like an article that defamed me in a Jewish publication
No.
saying that I'm an Israeli spy
What?
agent on campuses. Yeah, like a hate job, and everyone from like the Israeli ambassador to the U.S. everyone tweeted that it's the worst thing that they could have done. It's a very radical publication.
Wait.
Wait, it's the
Who
worst.
tweeted what?
The Israeli ambassador to the U.S. Tweeted about this article about me and said
Yeah.
it's a hate job and it's disgusting.
Right, the article.
Yeah.
First of all, that's great news for you.
Yeah,
Mm,
you're
mean-
famous.
Yeah.
I don't
No?
know. So in the past, I used to get tons of requests for lectures, but since this hit like article, it's been very tough. So
Oh,
if you want to
really?
book me, yeah, because I get the organizations, they don't want to get involved with anything that even smells criminal. And
What do you mean?
But the whole idea.
Spy?
Okay. They actually think there's something to it.
Yeah.
That's upsetting because these are organizations that are supposed to stand up in the face of all this shit that gets flown at them,
Yeah.
and they're backing down. That's upsetting.
Yeah, and those some organizations that used to take me all over the world and push me forward to fight,
That's really
anti-Semites.
disappointing.
And now when this is up, so if
Yes.
students or communities want to invite me, you can go on my website agnmazzig.com. And get in touch.
Fill a
with me.
form and and
Cool.
So
And
we'll
follow
post
him on
links.
Twitter, guys. He's
Yes,
active on
please.
Twitter, Facebook too.
Instagram.
Facebook, Instagram. I have a funny like Zionist memes account, so
Okay.
it's
What is
Which
it?
is
Chen Mazzig.
okay.
Chen Mazzig on
Easy to remember.
Instagram,
Yeah.
like at HenMazzig.
Yep.
Cool. Awesome, guys. So check out Hen Mazzig. Before we go, we do a collaboration with the Jewish Journal, which actually put us in touch.
Yeah, I love the Jewish Journal.
Yeah, jewishjournal.com, guys. Check them out. They have some great columns.
Podcasts. Like the
Podcasts.
Rosner's podcast.
Rosner's Domain.
Yeah.
And I actually wrote there a few times. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So check out Hen's articles.
Right.
Jewish Journal.
And we accept donations. So if you want to help us out, we do this on our free time. Go to twingb.com/donate.
We should do like the thing that they do on El Al flights where they collect the spare change. We should have like a thing where that just like collects your spare change.
Each time you buy something at the supermarket,
Give
just-
the extra change to
Yeah.
two nice
When
Jewish
it's an
boys.
Israeli
boys.
product, only when it's
yeah,
Israeli.
only when it's
We'll
Israeli.
take the BDS money too. We don't care.
We're an Israeli product. That's it, guys. So thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me. It was
Thank
fun.
And good luck. And thank you
Thanks.
for everything you're doing.
Thanks.